The other part is that the public-private partnership models, PPP, it has become a, kind of a very, very important known lexicon, this PPP. These public-private partnership projects have become very, very important in this urban scenario of India, and which actually goes at par with central government's National Common Minimum Program. I mean, sometimes we really don't understand that why PPP has to go with NCMP, that is National Commission Minimum Program, because they are not really following any minimum program premise. Central government is actually sitting at the apex, and central government is telling that yes, what they are wanting to see is efficiency. And in India, very interestingly, efficiency has become a contradiction with public sector. If it is public sector, it cannot be efficient. It has to be private sector. Why? Because there must be competition, And if the competition is between two unequal partners, so it is still competition. Which we are trying to say that a competition cannot be really made with two unequal partners. And in my class, for quite some time I have been telling my students that, look, I have decided to sit for the exam with you, and you can't say no to me. Because the type of competition which is now being floated is more or less like that, So, it's free world, and I should sit, and you should always allow me to sit, and, of course I will come up first. That is the type of competition which is being floated in India now. And if we really look at the NURM projects, it is essentially a mission that is reform-linked investment program of the private capital, targeting Indian cities, based on subtle forms of competition. Place marketing, this is a typical theoretical construct we use in human geography, which is known as place marketing, that the places are marketed. And what should be the different elements which you should market when you are marketing your city. And so there is a real competition which is coming up between the cities, among the cities. They are vying with each other to woo capital, private capital. And it is also tangled by a number of conditionalities. And what are these conditionalities? Number one, privatization. Commercialization of basic services through public-private partnership, as I told you, with an introduction of user fees. Liberalization of land and real estate market. And therefore, many of the important acts like land ceiling acts, urban land ceiling acts, these have been repealed in India. Rent control acts, these are problematic now. Development of a very strong mortgage market, 100% FDI in housing and real estate, very easier land use conversion norms which are coming up in the cities. There has been a tremendous reform in property tax and reduction in stamp duties. There has been a drastic financial and administrative restructuring of municipalities. There has been introduction of e-governance, and also, side by side, bringing the urban poor in the orbit of pay and use framework. So the urban poor now has to pay for the basic services. The urban poor who will be staying in the slums, which will be still located in the cities, which will not get relocated, those urban poor now have to pay for the basic services. In different cities in this way, with the repeal of some of the acts, huge amount of land has come up in the market. Many of these lands are housing the slums. Many of these lands are public lands. And now because of the repealing of the acts, these lands are becoming open for sale. I will give one example. In Mumbai, I don't know whether you know the name of one of the biggest slums of Asia, Dharavi. Dharavi in Mumbai. It is not just a slum, It is a tremendously motivated economic node. which is having a turnover of 4 million annually. And it is housing thousands of people who have come to stay in Dharavi from all over India. And its contribution to the urban economy of Mumbai is tremendous. This Dharavi is one of the latest targets, and many of us intellectuals and academicians, I don't know what we are meant for. I think we are definitely meant for part of this praxis to talk about what type of cities we want. We are very much trying to, resist the takeover of Dharavi, because Dharavi is now getting remodeled, refashioned by a plan which has been submitted by a non-resident Indian from the United States, and Maharashtra government has accepted it, but the whole matter is in the court. But this is just an example which I wanted to share with you. There is an ominous link between NURM and global capital as a part of the policy, and which is getting exposed by the urgency of implementing the projects which are in submission A. In submission A, the projects which are there, that is large, huge infrastructural projects, they are getting the budgets cleared very, very fast. Rather, what we find is that in submission B, the funds are not released. If the funds are released, there is enormous confusion that how the funds will be used, how the money will be implemented. And before the money is implemented, rather, these areas are getting included in submission A, because they are coming as, the possible areas for infrastructural projects. That is a very problematic aspect. In Calcutta, in Hyderabad, I don't know whether you know some of the names. In Bangalore you should be knowing, the IT hub of India. And there's a big fight between Bangalore and Hyderabad. Who is the bigger IT hub? In all these cities, these types of projects are coming up. And in these projects, what we find is that many a time the municipal corporations also have to take part as one of the partners. In this way, when the plans are being made not by the municipal governments, plans are being made by the parastatal agencies or sometimes the credit rating agencies. In case of Pune, I think you know the name of Pune, which is very close to Mumbai. Pune is going to be another IT hub. The plan, the city development plan, CDP, which is a part of the mission, that is being that has been formulated by the credit rating agency. In all these, what we are finding is that there has been, location in the declining industrial areas. Why the industries have got declined is a very big question. I mean, in India, I don't know whether you have read in the newspapers that there has been a lot of questions coming up on special economic zones. Now, why special economic zones in those areas which are actually having multi-cropped agricultural pattern? Why not in those areas which are not very fertile? And these multi-cropped areas are so close to the highways, so close to the big cities, because for that reason they become strategic points of location for the private capital. And in those selection of the special economic zones, who are the major mentors? Who are the major actors? It's the state governments. They have become the major actors in selecting those sites for the private capital and then agreeing to give enormous concessions to the private capital in displacing the agricultural workers, not the poor. In some of the parts of India, the people were actually developing a nice kind of a, agricultural industrial, handicraft industrial niche in several parts, which have actually raised the resistance struggles in India. I'm not very sure whether you are familiar, but this struggle is one of the mainstay, in the hands of these kinds of people who are getting marginalized.